All right, just like the last section, I have provided a zip file that you can download from this lecture. And in this zip file, we've got some boilerplate code that we're going to use throughout this section. So let's go to the voter component. This is the voter component that we wrote unit tests for in the last section. Now in this section, we're going to write integration tests for this component. So let's go to the spec file. All right, and before each block, we need to create an instance of our voter component. But in integration tests, we don't new up a voter component like this. This is for writing unit tests. If you want to write an integration test, you need to ask Angular to create an instance of that component for you. So delete. On the top, I'm going to import the testbed class from @angular/core/testing. This class provides a number of utility methods that we're going to use throughout this section. Now back here, first we need to create a dynamic module and put our component in that module, just like how we put components in a module in a real-world application. So we're going to call testbed.configure testing module method. This method takes a metadata object similar to the one that we provide to ng module. So let's go to app.module. Look, here we're using the ng module decorator, and this is our metadata object. So we have declarations, imports, providers, and so on. We need to provide a similar metadata object when creating a testing module. Now here, I'm only going to use the declarations part because we don't need to import any other modules. We don't need to configure dependency injection because this is a very simple component. So let's put this component in this module, voter component. So that's how we create a dynamic testing module. Now, in order to create an instance of this component, we call testbed.createComponent. Now, the argument to this method is the type of our component. So voter component. Now look at the return type of this method. It doesn't return an instance of the component. It returns a component fixture, which is a generic class. And you can see the generic argument here is voter component. So this component fixture is a wrapper around our component instance. With that, we can get access to both the component instance as well as its template. You're going to see that in a second. So I'm going to go on the top and import another class from our testing module. It's called component fixture. Now I'm going to declare a couple of variables. One is component, which is of type voter component, and fixture, which is of type component fixture of voter component. Now let's initialize these variables. So back here in the before each block, I'm going to set the fixture. And then from fixture, we can get the component instance. So we can set it here. Now this fixture also has another property called native element, which returns an HTML element, which is the root DOM element for this component's template. It also has another property, debug element, which is a wrapper around native element. And with this debug element, we get some useful methods for querying the DOM. You're going to see that in just a few minutes. So what I want you to note here is that the component fixture class is a wrapper around the component. With this, we can get an instance of the component. We can get its DOM element via native element or debug element properties. We can also run change detection manually. And we can also get one or more of the injected dependencies in this component. So this is the basic setup for writing integration tests. You can see that this is a little bit more noisy or more verbose than unit tests. And we don't want to write all this code every time we create a component. So in the next lecture, I'm going to show you a shortcut to generate this code.